Hello, welcome to The Wild Review. I'm The Wild Reviewer, and today I'm going to review a thing. So most of you watching this may not recognize the show that I'll be reviewing today if you were born in the late 2000s. Though if you were born in the late 90s or early 90s, you might recognize this show, seeing on how it was still on the air at the time. You might have seen reruns of it, you might even see clips of it on YouTube, but today I'm going to be talking about the show Saved by the Bell. I started watching this show when I was 6 years old, and I stopped watching it when I was 9, only because they stopped playing it on the channel TBS. That was the whole reason I found the show, and when they stopped playing it, I kind of forgot about it. Saved by the Bell was one of those shows that, well, let's just put it this way. You have High School Musical. Take all the songs out of High School Musical, put little plots in the movies, and make it its own show. That's basically what Saved by the Bell was. But for those who don't know what the show is, here's a little bit of history that I managed to look up, so this way you kind of have an idea of what I'm talking about. The show began in 1988 on the Disney Channel, and it actually wasn't called Saved by the Bell, which most people forget. It was actually originally called Good Morning Miss Bliss, and it didn't focus much on the kids, rather than it focused on the teachers and adults. Specifically the main character, Miss Bliss, who was a teacher at, well, the school had a different name, but for our sakes, we're just going to call it Bayside. Good Morning Miss Bliss does resemble Saved by the Bell in a way, seeming that it did have four of the original characters, Principal Belding, Zach Morris, Lisa Turtle, and Screech Powers. It had a whole bunch of different other characters, but I don't have time to remember their names. Though it was a cute little morning show on Disney, it didn't do that well, seeing on how it only had one season and 14 episodes. Once that show was done with, NBC picked up the show and actually renamed it to Saved by the Bell, and made it focus more on the kids than the teachers. Specifically, Zach Morris, who seemed to be the highlight of the show. The four characters I just mentioned transferred over from Good Morning Miss Bliss to Saved by the Bell. I don't know where any of the other characters went, but they probably died off. Joining the forecast were three new characters, Kelly Kapowski, A.C. Slater, and Jesse Spano. There was also a character that entered the show near the end of the series named Tori Scott. She was the kind of bad girl that went out with Zach near the end of the series, and I was kind of a little confused on how and why she managed to be in the show, specifically on how it was a little weird on how she was in episodes that both Kelly and Jesse weren't in. I did some research, and it turns out that the girls that played Kelly and Jesse didn't want to renew their contracts. So I guess they were kicked off the show and entered Tori. But due to the success of the show, it got two different spin-offs. One of the spin-offs was called Saved by the Bell The New Class, which focused on a whole bunch of new teenagers in Bayside High School. I don't know much about that show because I didn't watch it, nor did it ever play on TBS, but I did watch the other spin-off, Saved by the Bell The College Years, which focused on Zach, Slater, and Screech, and Kelly's adventures in college. And after a good run of, I want to say, 10 years of being on television, Saved by the Bell then ended somewhere in the late 90s with the television movie Saved by the Bell Wedding in Las Vegas, where it focused on Kelly and Zach getting married. And that's basically a brief little history on what Saved by the Bell is for those who have never heard of the show or are not familiar with the show. I personally like to think it's a good show, and I would want to see it again. I just want to know what channel they're playing it on. But I like to think that it's a pretty good show. However, just because it's a good show does not mean it has all good episodes. Sound a little familiar? Well, that's because I said the same thing in last week's episode. In last week's review, I reviewed an episode from a Disney Channel show, I Didn't Do It. The episode was called Phone Challenge, and by God was this really terrible. And it's a shame too, because I Didn't Do It seems like a pretty good show. I said in the video that I don't watch I Didn't Do It. I saw a good maybe 3 to 2 episodes, and Phone Challenge was one of them, and I just really didn't like it. I did see an extra I Didn't Do It episode after I filmed the video, and it is a pretty good show. I hear they had a really good Christmas special. They're being renewed for a second season, so they're probably doing something right. But Phone Challenge was just a really bad episode due to the writing and the way the characters were written to act. So yeah, the writing was bad. Saved by the Bell, however, that's not the case. The writing isn't bad. If anything, the writing's pretty good, but, well, I guess you could say the writing's bad, seeing on how the characters are written to act this way. There are only 3 episodes of Saved by the Bell that I have a problem with, and I like to call these episodes Zach Torture episodes. So why Zach Torture episodes? What about these episodes are torture to this character named Zach? Well, that would probably be the question for those who aren't familiar with the show. If you've never watched the show before, you obviously don't know who Zack Morris is. He's one of those popular kids who I guess you can kind of compare to as Troy Bolton. He just doesn't sing that much. Zack is the main character of the show. He was actually, I guess, the reason why he became the main character from Good Morning Miss Bliss into Saved by the Bell. I'm only taking a guess there. I don't know that for a fact. But Zack Morris is one of the popular kids and tries to get things to go his way. In some of the episodes that mostly focus on him, he either has a plot to either get money or to go on a date with Kelly. However, these plans of his then kind of flip over into other characters figuring it out and kind of getting even with him by teaching him a lesson. And that's what I'm here to talk about. I have 3 specific episodes that are exactly that, but my problem with them is how the lesson is taught. I understand if somebody does something wrong, you do need to teach them a lesson. You gotta show them that, it backfired in a way. You shouldn't have done this. However, the way the characters did them in these episodes are just... there are better ways of dealing with them. The first episode I'm talking about, I don't like. I like it a little, but the lesson that's taught in it, I absolutely do not like it. The second episode, I dislike very much, only because there are some things wrong with it. I see so many things wrong with it, in fact. And the last episode is one I hate. I hate the episode. The plot is good. I see where they're trying to get the plot, but the lesson that's being taught in this episode is horrendous. I hate it. So, that being said, let's start with the episode that I don't like. Fatal Distraction. In the beginning of the episode, we find out that there's a huge dance coming up, and Kelly has to choose of whether who she's going to bring to the dance, either Slater or Zack. Zack is determined to find out her answer, seeing on how she's being very hesitant on who she's going to pick. But Zack, being the sneaky little character that he is, overhears that Kelly's going to be at a sleepover that Jesse's holding at her house, which coincidentally lives right next to Zack. Knowing that they'll probably talk about the dance and who Kelly will pick at Jesse's slumber party, Zack sneaks through the window to get into Jesse's room and hides a little microphone somewhere in her room so this way he can overhear what's going on from their room into his room. Later that night, as Zack and Screech are overhearing all their conversations, the girls finally get up to who Kelly's going to bring to the dance, and Kelly chooses Zack. Zack, being overwhelmed, has his victory cut short as he realizes that he screamed too loud to now have the girls pretty concerned on why he was screaming. He fakes it as if he was watching a baseball game, but the girls are smart enough to know there's no game playing that night, until Jesse finds the microphone and realizes that they've been bugged and Zack has been overhearing their conversation, even though there's really no proof that the wire leads to Zack's house. I mean, they're just assuming it's Zack's. So Kelly thinks of an idea on how to teach Zack a lesson this way he'll never do it again. When the microphone gets fixed, Zack and Screech overhear the girls talking about their dirtiest secrets. When it comes to Kelly telling her secret, she talks about how when she really likes a guy, she turns into some kind of devilicious monster and starts hurting them. And, oh my god, she's a freaking monster, putting people into hospitals, the cops, what the hell? The conversation then gets cut off and kind of scares Screech a little and a little of Zack. The next day, when Zack walks in, everybody's acting weird to him, and he sees Slater in a wheelchair. When asked what happened, Slater says that Kelly beat her up after hitting on her. He ended up in a hospital, woke up in a wheelchair, and now Zack is petrified. Later in class, Kelly sends him a note, and Lisa drops a whole bunch of books, and... What the... Wait a minute. Whoa, what? Whoa, hey! Whoa! This is a kid's show! Why does she have a bat? The episode ends with Zack being petrified and telling Kelly that he already has a date to the dance, which is the girl that he didn't want to go with, and then finds out that the whole thing was a prank and a little lesson to teach to never do it again, as he now has to suffer dancing with the girl that he didn't want to go to while he watches the girl that he wanted to go to dance with the guy that he didn't want to go with her. But that's Fatal Distraction. So what's wrong with this episode? Why does she have a bat? I understand bugging someone's room and overhearing their conversation. Yes, that is bad. What Zack did is wrong, but there's a better way to settle this. Don't get even. Tell his parents. Zack can get in so much trouble for this. Why can't they just tell his parents? Why can't they be like, oh yeah, Zack, what the hell, Zack? Why do you have to go through all this? Why does she have a bat? But honestly, the thing that is getting me, like, Zack has just so many good friends in this episode. I mean, like, they lock him in a classroom that, God forbid, the teacher is in. The teacher, what is the teacher doing? Why isn't he in that classroom? What is wrong with this high school? Our teacher's like, okay, the class is over, like, you know, the lesson's over, everybody have a nice day. Hey, shut the door behind you, alright, I'm not staying in here. Usually in school, the teachers stay behind to make sure that everybody leaves the classroom. Why did this guy just leave? Why is he not aware that people, specifically his students, are locking the doors and one of them has a bat trying to swing at a poor innocent little boy that, yes, did something wrong, but this could have easily been, you know, there's a better way to deal with this. Just tell Zack's parents, you don't need to get into this whole prank. There doesn't need to be Kelly going off. You know, there's no reason for her to have a bat. For God's sake, she almost bashed his head. The fact on how at the end also he has to suffer with going to a dance with a girl that he did not want to go with, I understand. Maybe that is good punishment. But, I mean, for God's sake, why did he go to the dance anyway? Shouldn't that have been his punishment? Don't go to the dance? I think that would have been a better punishment than what the hell these girls did. So, yeah, that's my thought on Fatal Distraction. Oh my god. So that's the episode I don't like, but now let's talk about the episode I dislike very much, which is kind of like, well, probably not that worse, but it is pretty bad, but then again, I wouldn't know. This is where it's going to get a little complicated now. The only reason I say it's going to get a little complicated is because half of the stuff I'm going to say is wrong. The episode I dislike very much is called the Zack Tapes, and unlike Fatal Distraction and the episode I will be talking about last, I don't have any footage for it. In fact, I couldn't rewatch it. If you've known from the past, I would usually put clips from the episode or movie I'm reviewing, and I would have obviously taken notes. Like, I always take notes. I rewatch what I'm reviewing to make sure every joke or every little thing I'm talking about is right. I found 2 out of the 3 episodes. I cannot find the Zack Tapes anywhere. The actual episode is on YouTube, but they want me to pay for it. And I'd be glad to pay for it. I just want to know what happens after I click the button so many times. So, yeah, I don't really have much about this episode. I did see it when I was little, but I don't remember that much, which is why I had to watch it over again, but I can't seem to watch it over again because I don't know where to find it. The only actual place I did get information from was a website where there was literally a review of this episode, kind of like what I'm doing. The comments were a little sarcastic, and it was a little sassy, so it was hard to tell if the guy was joking or not, or if this actually happened in the episode. Either way, I'm just going to try to remember what happened. I wrote some notes down, but if you remember this episode and I get anything wrong, I'm deeply sorry. I haven't seen this episode in years, and I also can't seem to find it. Yeah. So from the notes I have down in the memory of this episode that I saw years ago, I do know that it involves another dance and Kelly's trying to choose either to bring Zack or Slater. Another thing I remember is that they have these little necklaces or things to put over your neck. Like, it's not a necklace, but it is one of those ribbon things you put over your neck, and it was a heart-shaped card, and it would have the person's name on it, and that would kind of detect on who you're taking to the dance. So I do remember that. The reason why it was called Zack Tapes was because I know it had something to do with, I think Lisa was listening to a tape, and it was kind of, the whole episode was about brainwashing girls, basically, and Zack did something, he either had a song, I think Zack had a song, and it made Kelly, like, it brainwashed Kelly, and that's how Kelly chose Zack to go to the dance, because Zack technically brainwashed her after she listened to these tapes. And then apparently, I think all the girls got the tapes, and after everybody knew something was up and found out what Zack's scheme was, they all decided to get back at him, and even one of the teacher and the principal were in on it. And it basically, like, what do I have here? Basically, everybody fell in love with Zack. Let's just put it that way. I do remember that. All the girls fell in love with Zack, and I even think the female teacher fell in love with Zack. I think. I'm pretty sure. I do know Principal Belding and Slater fell in love with Zack after listening to these tapes, specifically since Mr. Belding played one of the tapes over the intercom for all to hear. That's how all the girls, got brainwashed and stuff. But in Zack's mind, it got out of hand. I don't remember how it ended. I mean, when I saw the review on it, it said how it ended, but I doubt Zack actually got a spanking from his mom. So that's really all I remember from it. The lesson that he was trying to be taught in the episode, the teacher and the Belding, Slater, everybody's in on it. It's obvious that, I'm going to say what the guy said in his review, it seems that there's nothing better to do on this day. I guess the teachers don't need to learn, the principal doesn't have a school to run, because this is what the guy said in his review. It's obvious the school has nothing better to do than just harass Zack. This is an example on how he's being tortured. All Zack wants to do in his mind is just go on a date with his dream girl. That's all he wants to do. I understand he's doing it the wrong way. There are better ways to do this. The ways he's doing it are wrong. Bugging someone's room, brainwashing them, it's all wrong. I understand that. And I understand he needs to pay. He does need to be taught a lesson. But having the whole school go after him and physically scaring him, I know that's the point you're trying to do, but you're his friends. Why do you torture him? What I'm trying to get at is that this episode is messed up. Let's just put it that way. From what I remember of it. Again, I haven't seen the episode, so I can't really determine. But I know it's somewhat worse than Fatal Distraction because Slater fell in love with Zack. Principal Belding, I think, fell in love with Zack. An old woman fell in love with Zack. One of the teachers, I think. I don't have evidence, but from memory, I think that's what happened, and that's kind of what's sick. If what I'm saying is true, that's worse. Because, that's more worse than Kelly trying to hit Zack with a bat, even though that hurts like hell. But I think a teacher and a principal and a guy falling in love with another guy that did something wrong, that might be taking it a little too far, especially for the female woman. Hello. Because what this female teacher does not know, I think it was her plan to get him back. I'm not really sure. Again, I didn't watch the episode. I need to watch it again to reinforce myself. But if this teacher did fakely, is that the right word? If she faked falling in love with Zack, I understand it's a show, but if that was real life, she'd go to jail. Zack is 15 in this show? What she's doing is illegal. And what Slater and Principal Belding are doing is gay. Now again, just to reform, I'm going to say it over again. I did not watch this episode, so if you've seen this episode recently somehow, if I'm wrong, I'm sorry. If you want to correct me, tell me in the comments, But I could definitely say that the Zack tapes are a little worse than Fatal Distraction. It might be the other way around, I don't know. I'd have to watch the Zack tapes again to determine it, but from my memory, I think it's more worse than Fatal Distraction. So that's the episode I very much dislike very much. So now let's get to the last episode that I hate. Yearbook video. I will admit the plot is pretty clever. I think a video yearbook is pretty cool. The whole plot for this episode is cool, but the way the lesson is taught, Jesus Christ. I have, no pity for any of these characters except Zack. I just feel, so bad for him. And again, I know it's an act, but I don't understand how this is funny. I really don't. So this episode takes place later often during the series, seeing on how everybody's at least older, and Zack went through puberty. Yeah, puberty! It starts off with the yearbook committee having a meeting in Principal Belding's office, and Zack's part of the committee. Realizing that nobody bought the yearbook last year, Zack has an idea that instead of having a normal yearbook, make a video yearbook by having all the graduates, or at least everybody in the school, make a little video saying who they are, what they did in the school, and answer just some questions. And Zack's totally in on it because he gets to miss classes. Oh, Zack! Later on in the episode, we find out that Zack needs money for a car because he's at that age where he could drive. And after Screech films Lisa's part in the video yearbook, Screech makes a comment on how anybody would be lucky enough to go out with Lisa, giving Zack an idea on selling a whole bunch of dating videos, which is how he'll manage to raise money for a car. He makes a separate tape with all the girls from Bayside, includes their numbers and saying what their favorite interests are, and starts selling them off to guys in different schools. And it's pretty successful, seeing on how Zack is making a lot of money and the girls are getting phone numbers from pretty cool guys. All's going well until Zack finds out that Screech accidentally put Kelly, who was Zack's girlfriend at the time of this show, Jessie, who was Slater's girlfriend at the time of the show, and Lisa, who was nobody's girlfriend in the show at this time, were accidentally put on the dating videos as well, which gets Zack a little upset. Things get even worse when Zack's friends want to see the yearbook video, and Zack accidentally mixes the two videos up, and he accidentally goes off with the yearbook video, and everybody ends up watching the dating video, which kind of makes a little sense to all of them now. After Principal Belding finds out about it, they feel like suspending or even expelling Zack, but Kelly has the idea that maybe they should get him back. They start putting together a plan and get the whole school on it to teach Zack a lesson that he will never forget. Believe me, he will never forget it. Neither will I, even though I try to. The next day, Zack's friends start putting on the little prank show for Zack as he notices things aren't going... Oh my god. Zack finds out that Slater has been going wild and beating all the guys up because he doesn't know who exactly is calling his girlfriend Jessie, and yeah, he's just assuming, so he's just beating everybody up. Zack is then called into the principal's office for some reason, and Kelly's also invited with her new boyfriend. This gets Zack very upset, and... I thought they were friends! What the hell, was Slater actually gonna punch Zack in the face? I know Zack paused time because that's his one little magic trick in the show, but after that, Zack left and Slater actually punched Principal Belding. Does that mean that he was gonna punch Zack? What kind of friend are you? What part of the lesson are you trying to show? So Zack, realizing that this kind of went a little too far, then sends invitations to everybody in school to watch a video Screech gave him that says that he's very sorry and has done right. He used all the money for the dating video, for many copies of the yearbook video, and even finished the yearbook video. However, he states at the end of the video that none of them have to deal with him again, seeing on how he's going to go to a military school to kind of learn better. As he says his final goodbyes, everybody's happy that he's gone. The only reason for that is because Zack isn't technically gone. He actually disguises himself as a girl to see how everybody would react to this video. And as everybody's being happy, Zack couldn't believe his eyes, what they were saying, and takes off the wig and starts yelling at everybody, kind of confused and a little upset, and then gets embarrassed when everybody screams "Gotcha!" at him as he makes a face that he couldn't believe what happened. Now physically embarrassed and humiliated in front of the whole school. And that's yearbook video. Okay. So, this went well. Zack is now humiliated, in front of the whole school, and, yeah. What were you trying to teach? I understand what he did wrong was, he gave people's numbers out. The kid just wanted a car. And I understand what he did was wrong. He shouldn't have made those dating videos, but it's not his fault. He's just a kid. You live and you learn. There's no need for these lessons to be taught. Specifically, since one part of the plan of this lesson involves his girlfriend kissing another guy. And his best friend punching him in the face. That still gets me heated up. Why was he actually gonna punch him in the face? Like, what kind of friend are you? First you're being gay to him, and now you're punching him in the face? What kind of friend are you? You're like the best friend of the year, aren't you, buddy? So let's imagine the credits never rolled at the end. Everybody screamed "Gotcha!" and then what would have happened? Well, if I were Zack, I would have probably ran out of the school, started cursing out everybody, telling Mr. Belding to go F himself, saying goodbye to Screech because he seems to be the only person that hasn't done anything wrong in the episode, break up with Kelly, punch Slater in the face, seeing on how he almost punched him in the face, and then leave Bayside forever, and there would never be any more Saved by the Bell stuff. That would have possibly been the last episode. Yeah, that's literally what I would do. If I was Zach Morris, I'd do that. I don't care if I'm dressed like a woman. I've just been humiliated in front of my whole school. My girlfriend kissed another person, and my best friend tried to beat me up. What the hell are you trying to teach? That is all in one lesson because all he did was give out girls' numbers. Mind you, girl numbers that enjoy talking to guys. Did we not miss that in the beginning of the episode? There was a whole group of girls that were actually excited that they got called. Now they have plans over the night. What happened to those people? It's like, no, Zack actually kind of did something cool. Only his friends saw it wrong and managed to get the whole school in on it. What the hell? Now, like I said, this plot is pretty good. I did like the plot. I think the idea of a video yearbook is awesome. But Zack did a tiny little mistake that he didn't see anything wrong with, that his friends then turned into a massive thing and practically humiliated him in front of the school, even though Zack kind of helped some people. What the hell does that show? So that's my episode that I viciously hate. There are like absolutely no other words I could describe. I just really do not like any of these episodes. Saved by the Bell is a great show. I think everybody should watch it. Hell, I'm still trying to figure out what channel they're playing it on to see if I can record any episodes. But these 3 episodes, I just can't stand. And even though I didn't see the Zack Tapes, and I'm only going through my mind on what I kind of remember of it, I still think it was pretty bad. But those are my opinions on those 3 episodes. The show itself is great. If you ever get a chance to watch Saved by the Bell, you should definitely watch it. It's a classic. But these 3 episodes, I'm just not fans of. Yeah. But that's what I think about these episodes of Saved by the Bell. Now I want to hear what you guys think. Have you ever seen Saved by the Bell? Have you ever seen these episodes? Do you like these episodes? Do you agree or disagree with anything that I said in this video? Tell me in the comments, and also leave me your suggestions for whatever movie, TV show, or random thing you want me to discuss next. And for anybody who knows where I could find the Zack Tapes online, or even knows when it's going to be playing on TV on whatever channel, please tell me in the comments so this way I could watch it and see if I was right. If I wasn't right what I said about it in the episode, I'll probably make a video reclaiming myself or kind of rephrasing it. Thanks for watching The Wild Review. I'm The Wild Reviewer, and you just saw me review a thing.